I want to welcome Kennesaw Happenings podcast to our podcast this morning. We have in the studio a lady that I met last week who I wanted to twist her arm to come on to the podcast because she serves seniors. So tell us, Ronnie, who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ronnie Genser. I have a business. I'm a widow. You'll understand why that's important in a little while.
Mhm.
I'm a widow. I have a business called Bereavement Navigators. It's not exact. It's a little different than exactly what you probably think about it.
Okay.
I work with widows, widowers, and adult children on all the personal and practical tasks they will face after the death of a loved one, having had that experience. A couple of years into this business, I realized there are people who came to me and said, we don't have anything put together yet.
Mhm.
So I work with people like that to put together all the information that either their loved one or a friend or whoever will take over for them should not only, unfortunately, they die, but if they become temporarily or permanently incapacitated and can't do the tasks that they once did. So I call the first part, the original part of the business, after death consulting. And the second part that I just described, I call, in parentheses, it's not on the website, but it says before death, long before is my hope, a death consulting.
Well, nobody can talk more authoritative with somebody that's been through, let's just say, the shoes of a person. So tell our viewers, like, when it comes to, where you are today, when did you decide to start this business and why?
Good question. Actually, I didn't choose it by choice myself.
Right.
I was encouraged by some friends of mine who had said, if what happened to you ever happened to me, you'd be on speed dial. I can remember those exact words. And so I thought, well, maybe I should give this a shot. I had an international sales and marketing consulting business for, 19, 20 years. And at first started trying to do both of them at the same time, and then realized it was just more than I could handle, that it was kind of like, what day is it? What business cards do I carry? What am I doing? And so I quickly decided that maybe that time was up and it was time to take a leap of faith and just start what today is Bereavement Navigators.
Well, that's no, I know, because we're here at Overture, so we're familiar with. We've lost, residents that are here, and so there's challenges when there's a surprise in life. So tell our viewers, like, what did you experience when you lost your husband, and what that transition and challenge was that you're now helping others with?
Okay. Well, first of all, I met my husband, lived in a different city, lived in Pennsylvania, and we dated for several years, long distance. He had two children who were still in their teens. So I wasn't living there. I just visited every few weeks. And but anyway, it anyway, he would commute and whatever, but then he did move here, and he had and we were living together, and he had a massive heart attack, unexpected. Seemed pretty healthy to me all this time, and was in one of the major hospitals here. And he became comatose. And after some days, they had told me that he could only be on the machines that he was on for 7 days, and we'd have to make a decision. And so at that point, when they came to me and said, time's up, we have to make a decision, he could either go to a nursing home for the rest of his life, or you could decide something else. And something else was basically to take him off the machines. And I knew him well enough, even though we didn't have that direct conversation. We had talked about what we wanted, how we saw our life together going forward. So I knew he wouldn't want to live on machines. So the thing that I answered to that question of what I wanted to do was, can I have 24 to 48 hours to call the family and bring them in, because I felt like going forward, I still wanted to have relationships with his son and daughter, even though they were, independent, living out of town. And also his parents were alive, and I really cherished the relationship with his parents. I always did. They were wonderful people, and wanted to be respectful and wanted to include them in everything. So that's what I did, is I had them all come in, and we had a conference at the hospital, one of the conference rooms with the family. I could have one of that. And I said, okay, this isn't only my choice. I want this to be everybody's choice, or at least majority rules. Does everybody agree to that?
Right.
And they said yes. And surprisingly, they all voted the same way. And that was after they had a chance to say their goodbyes in his hospital room. And everybody was content with that, albeit, crying and whatever. That the nurse came in and said, okay, is this the right time? And I said yes. And they turned off the machines.
Wow, boy, that's a tough one. Now,
it's a tough one.
I think our viewers always like to hear the truth and the lessons that our guests have. So people are going through very difficult questions like you just described. I mean, the difficult parts of their life. How do you help people today, having been in the shoes that you've been in, and you are now reaching out to people? What are you helping them with?
Okay, there are two things that I help people with. What I affectionately call after death consulting, and before death consulting, meaning long before. And so let's start with long before. My hope is that people document where everything is, what they have, who to call, all kinds of things that one would need at that moment. And if they don't, I go through the steps, or if they put something together, I go over and say, well, if I note all the things that I think they've left out, in terms of data, put that together. No judgment in terms of good, bad, or indifferent, but just this is what you should have. So that's what I call long before, long before death, that they should document. And after death, then the other part is just after death consulting, meaning if you have all of this, helping them go through the steps, seeing if there's anything else we left out, or if they did their own planning or whatever that they should be doing, so that when they get through all the stuff, as I call it, that they're done, for the most part. I mean, some things may take quite a while to unravel or whatever, but if they've done all of that, then they're done.
What do you say, like, when you were just sharing your story, how appreciative, or what kind of communication did you have with their family as you're faced with a very difficult decision? Were they appreciative, or just tell our viewers what that was like?
Okay. When I was working with like my husband's family,
yes, and I think it's the ultimate love and respect to be reaching out to the family.
That I always remember. My mother-in-law was sort of the more outward going person. My father-in-law was a very, what I call a gentle soul. He was just a very quiet person, a very bright man, very, very bright. And I think that they were pretty appreciative. I was trying to think of the right word. Very appreciative of being included and being, the first to ask things or to share or whatever. I think that was really very important, and for me, it was really flying by the seat of my pants, because I had done this before.
Yes, exactly. There's no manual that said you do this, you do that, you do this.
Laws or whatever. Yeah. So, I never thought about myself through that whole thing, figuring I could to that later,
Right.
but to really take care of them because they had been very good to me.
Right. What is your relationship today with the family? I mean, obviously they're out of state, they're not here.
Right.
What is that like?
Well, first of all, my in-laws are both deceased.
Okay.
They deceased a little while after he died.
Okay.
But he had two children who were like, I think 11 and 13 or something when I first met them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and because we commuted, that we weren't living in the same city, I saw them like, I'd say once a month, once every 6 weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I've really maintained contact with his daughter, and we talk frequently. I mean, I won't say frequently, every couple of months.
Right.
One of us calls the other just to see how we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
His son, I think, was just really overwhelmed by his death,
right,
and really sort of absenced himself from everybody. It wasn't me personally, whatever. Right. And a few times I reached out to him and had these very brief conversations, didn't really seem to want to do that, and seemed to be pretty, I can't say mixed up, but just never got the things that he needed psychologically in life, and didn't know how to get them. And there wasn't his mother had been deceased for some time. And when his father deceased, he found a woman to live with. I think they married, and then just kind of absenced himself. I mean, I know where he lives and all this,
right?
But I think I don't think this is particular. I mean, abnormal. It may come in various different ways, but it's not the first time that's ever happened. So I never took this personally.
Yeah, and I think, and I've had some guests on, and I don't know if it's true, but the difference between guys and gals, women tend to be more sensitive to something like this. So I could see how that your relationship with his daughter is different than the son. It seems that way. I don't know if that's, I've never read a study or anything, but guys are a little bit more, we're different. Yeah. So I'm always curious, when you live a life experience, how you take that and help others. So at what point did you say it's time to leave the international marketing, your other career, and move into, and I think it's more of a servant heart. I mean, I don't know what you did previous, but at what point did you say, okay, now, was it just balancing two very difficult careers, and then you said, I'm going to put more focus on serving people that have been through my shoes?
Yeah. Basically it was that. I called it what business cards do I need in my pocket for today?
Yeah.
And that they were very different. And at one point I just said to myself, I can't do this. I have to do one or the other. And where's my heart? And my heart really was with the newer business, Bereavement Navigators. And it was really a leap of faith because, there weren't any clients, I didn't know if this would work.
Right.
There's no family money. I mean, there's no family money of my money or, et cetera. So I just took this leap of faith and said I'd give it a shot, but that I was really passionate about it. And it wasn't that I didn't like the international sales and marketing consulting business. I was just tired of it. I was bored, so that's what I did.
Well, I mean, that's commendable, because I like it when people make career changes. I think that just from a standpoint of learning, when we learn something new, we really change the way we think. And I have a friend that I think he's 40 years in the golf business, and we were talking, and they were transitioning the leadership of their business. And I won't say him by name, but I said, you have worked 40 years for this one company. What I think you lack is perspective of change. And it's always good to challenge ourselves with a completely different. I mean, you're talking about completely different. Really? Yeah, it's not like I'm going to do domestic sales and marketing and I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. you're talking a totally
totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about a client that you were able to walk them through with your experience and understanding of what you've been through, so our viewers can get an idea what you do with them.
Yeah. So basically, what I do with someone after death is first to tell them that I really appreciate that they're here, and if any time during the conversation it's just too much or they've had enough, it's time to stop, they need to tell me. And so I want to be respectful of the person. And so then I ask them to, even if they've told me over the phone what their needs are, the needs in terms of help are, I ask them to tell me as if they hadn't told me before, because I feel like there's, there could be 3 days, it could be 2 weeks, there could be whatever gap before we actually start to work together based on schedules. So then I take a bunch of notes and then I say to them, okay, what's most important to you? Tell me the top 3 things.
Right.
And so I make some notes, 1, 2, 3 on my the notes that I've taken, so I know what to work with, and then set with them a time to start to work on those things. And some of them are maybe stuff that I have to research to, I know what to do or where to find information, but it will take me a little bit of time, and their schedule and my schedules, aren't, exactly the same. So that's how we begin to work together, but I really focus on the whole thing being client driven.
Right.
That, what's stressing you the most right now?
Right. And I think that I like that you take their priorities, what's most important.
Yeah.
And I think that anytime we focus on whoever we're working with, if we can understand what they really want to get out of a situation, what would you say for our viewers that might be listening? Who can support and help you? I come from a digital marketing business, so I understand Google and I understand search and all that, but it seems like people wouldn't even know you exist.
Okay.
So who can support you? Like, we met at the Atlanta Senior Care Network. So who can support you out there? What have you found as good referral partners or people that could say, hey, you got to call Ronnie?
Right. Anybody basically who breathes and has a need is a good support partner. And so for me, what I find is going to networking groups like the one that we met at is very good, so I can get my name out there. And I'm very good about following up, that I have kind of a form letter and send in an email, maybe tweak it a little depending on the situation, which isn't hard, but to do that pretty soon after, within a day or 24, 48 hours to get one out there, so I'm top of mind. And because I never know where it's going to come. Sometimes, I've had a referral from somebody, let's say in California, and I said, how did you, know about me? Well, my friend Susie in someplace heard you speak or knew about you or something. So it's really more of a numbers game of just being out there, of connecting, of making sure that I send my follow-up email so that they have something, and there's usually a couple of attachments or something to it. So that there's an impression, and it's not to say that somebody's going to, once they receive the follow-up, that I'm going to get a call instantly. I've gotten calls 6 months, 2 years later. Who knows? No, but people file it away,
Absolutely.
And, it would be nice if they came in, referrals came in faster.
Well,
but it is what it is.
Yeah. And
a time in my life that, I put money away and, things like that. So it's not only a business, it's a service.
Yeah. And I think I have, this is just in my own mind. We don't think there's a day we're not going to be here. Right. And so even we have a person that comes on a monthly basis and she offers wills. And you'd be surprised how people just don't do that. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we all I don't like to say it this way, but
Mhm.
we all have an expiration date.
Right.
We don't escape it. It's not like that some people cannot have it.
Mhm.
So, but we don't want to think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm in my mind, I will shout out to you. I was introduced to your group by a friend of mine, Rand Eberhardt, and he kept saying, Pete, you got to go. And I podcast in the morning, so it was always a conflict.
Mhm.
And he kept telling me, you got to go, you got to go. So when I went for the first time
Mhm.
last week, I met about 10 people.
Yeah. Fabulous.
And you were the first to follow up.
Oh,
Because I sent 10 emails
yeah.
that I'd like to invite
Mhm.
you were the first, and you're the first to be on the show. So
Thanks.
that's pat yourself on the back, because
I'm a marketer,
yeah, I think yeah.
I have a whole different orientation.
But I had one person said, well, I'll get back with you in the spring.
Yeah.
I said, this is free.
I know. I
said,
excited.
I said, I'm not charging you anything, so there's no financial decision to make.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you, like Bartina, who is in the studio. She came up with the Shine Brighter hashtag. We shine brighter on people, and we don't charge you to do that. Exactly. Now we're not a nonprofit business, but we believe that everybody's got a story,
right? And
everybody needs to amplify it out there. And it was before, when I was in the digital business, it was Google AdWords, it was Facebook AdWords, all this stuff. It's very expensive. Then podcasting came on the scene, and it changed the landscape, because now our viewers know your story.
And they see who you are, as a person, and who that person is. It doesn't matter whether you're, handsome, pretty, not handsome, not pretty, whatever. They at least experience the essence of the person.
Yes, totally. So I'd like you to tell our viewers how they would get a hold of you.
Pretty easy. Pick up the phone
and
call 404-843-9460.
Wow, I like that. And then website?
Website is, of course, www.bereavement, BEREAVEMENT, Navigators, NAVIGATORS.com. They can just Google Ronnie Genser and see what comes up.
Okay. And we'll put in, for the people that are driving, listening to this, we'll put links in the show notes. So if you didn't have time to write it down, we want you to stay focused on driving. Go in the show notes and you'll be able to see Ronnie's information.
Yeah.
So I want you to, I always like that you can give our viewers like your final takeaway. What would you want our viewers to understand and know about you at the end of this podcast?
I want to say it's always too soon until it's too late, meaning to put together this information. I think that that's very important. And if you want to leave a gift to your loved ones or friend who's ever taking over for you, that's the greatest gift that you can give them, because otherwise they're, basically in a rowboat or whatever without a paddle.
Yes. What do they call it? You're up a creek without a paddle. Yes. I knew there was. I love that. I love it. I'll always do a quote and they'll go, Pete, no, it's not that, but it's this.
It is that.
Yeah, but yeah, it is. It is. That is true. And I want to thank you, Ronnie, for driving across town. Oops. Hold on here. I'm going to get this back. I hit the wrong thing here. Okay, let's see if I can get myself back here. No, don't switch there. Oh, darn. There we go. Okay, I want to thank you for driving to our studio and for being the first person to say yes to the podcast. Thank you for being a guest on Kennesaw Happenings.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful.